This story isn't about technology, it's about belief. A young genius promised to revolutionize medicine without ever proving her invention worked. And the more powerful the people who trusted her, the harder it became to stop her. The billion-dollar litho rise and fall of Elizabeth Holmes didn't walk onto the stage with numbers. She walked in with a promise, not a spreadsheet, not a prototype demonstration, not audited data, a promise, a future without needles. A future where fear dissolved with a single drop of blood. No pain, no waiting rooms, no uncertainty hovering over test results. It sounded less like healthcare innovation and more like salvation. And that was the first red flag. Because when something sounds like a miracle, people stop analyzing it. They stop measuring it. They stop questioning it. They begin protecting it. And Elizabeth Holmes understood that instinct better than anyone in the room. She didn't sell a device. She sold belief. And belief spreads faster than proof ever could. Elizabeth Holmes looked like inevitability. 19 years old, a Stanford dropout, soft-spoken, measured, composed. She did not speak like a salesperson. She spoke like someone carrying a mission. She rarely mentioned revenue. She rarely emphasized valuation. She talked about lives saved, diseases detected early, families spared grief. The media didn't investigate her narrative, they amplified it. They needed a story of genius, and she delivered the aesthetic perfectly. Black turtlenecks, minimalist language, a steady gaze that suggested clarity without explanation. She wasn't merely building a startup, she was constructing mythology, and mythology is powerful, because once someone becomes symbolic, questioning them feels like questioning progress itself. That emotional shield is stronger than any patent. But mythology has a weakness: reality. Elizabeth Holmes understood a psychological advantage that most founders never articulate: confidence creates gravity. In rooms filled with uncertainty, the calmest voice often wins. She wore a lab coat, not because she was treating patients, but because authority requires visual reinforcement. She used language dense enough to sound scientific, yet abstract enough to avoid verification. Whenever someone asked how the technology functioned, she pivoted. She reframed. She elevated the conversation to vision. And slowly, precision gave way to admiration. Scrutiny softened into loyalty. And when loyalty wasn't enough, secrecy filled the gap. Proprietary. Confidential. Too advanced to disclose. The less she revealed, the more extraordinary people assumed the truth must be, because mystery increases perceived value, and perceived value attracts capital. But inside the laboratory, the machines were not revolutionary. They were unstable, and instability does not survive exposure. Her most powerful creation was not technological, it was structural. Her board of directors included decorated generals, former cabinet members, and political authorities, not medical scientists. Not laboratory engineers. Influence replaced expertise. Their presence sent a silent but unmistakable message. If individuals of this stature believed in her, skepticism became socially expensive. Investors did not want to appear ignorant. Journalists did not want to appear cynical. Employees did not want to appear disloyal. And slowly, doubt became isolation. Isolation became silence. And silence became culture. Questioning data carried consequences. Employees who raised concerns were sidelined. Some were dismissed. Others were confronted legally. The message was not subtle: belong or leave. And fear is efficient. Fear compresses truth. Fear keeps rooms quiet, but fear cannot repair broken systems. Behind closed doors, the miracle struggled daily. By machines malfunctioned. Tests failed. Blood samples required dilution, compromising accuracy. Results fluctuated beyond acceptable ranges. Instead of confronting the flaw, the company concealed it. Traditional laboratory equipment was used quietly in the background. Results were attributed to proprietary technology. Performance was maintained. Patients trusted those numbers. Doctors acted on those numbers. Some individuals were told they faced severe illness when they did not. Others were reassured when danger was real. This was no longer visionary exaggeration, was risk. And risk without transparency becomes harm. Still, the illusion persisted, because belief is adhesive. People defend what they have invested in. Money, reputation, hope. No one wanted to be the first to admit they might have been deceived until someone did. Every large deception collapses for the same reason. A question finally refuses to disappear. A journalist began investigating, not Emotionally, methodically, documents were reviewed. Employees were interviewed, timelines were compared, and inconsistencies multiplied. When publication approached, pressure intensified. Legal threats emerged. Attempts at intimidation followed. But suppression cannot rewrite reality. It can only delay acknowledgement. And when the story was released, confidence fractured. Admiration inverted. Valuation collapsed. $9 billion evaporated. Partnerships dissolved. The myth disintegrated. Elizabeth Holmes was no longer portrayed as a revolutionary. She stood in court as a defendant. But the financial loss was not the most disturbing element. The psychological architecture was not simply fraud. It was a case study in influence. Grandiousity. Strategic manipulation, emotional detachment. Even her voice was reportedly engineered, lowered, more authoritative, more controlled. Presence was practiced. Stillness was rehearsed. Certainty was performed, and performance is persuasive. Humans are not wired to follow spreadsheets. They follow conviction. And conviction, when displayed convincingly enough, overrides caution, which forces a difficult reflection. How much of this was deception, and how much was collective desire? Because Elizabeth Holmes did not operate in isolation. Investors wanted exponential returns. Media outlets wanted a compelling narrative. Consumers wanted painless innovation. And belief feels good. Belief reduces complexity. Belief eliminates ambiguity. Doubt is uncomfortable. Doubt slows progress. Doubt demands effort. So we often choose belief, and that choice carries consequences. The most powerful lies are rarely imposed. They are welcomed. If this story unsettles you, that reaction matters. Awareness begins where comfort ends. And in a world driven by visionaries and disruption, skepticism may be the most underrated form of intelligence. If you want more deep analyses into manipulation, power structures, and financial deception, subscribe. Because the next illusion is already being constructed, and it may look just as convincing.